Hey guys, I want to comment on the article I just read by Daniel Simmons that was referred to me by Sensei Fu, how experts were called chess positions. And in this, Daniel Simmons cites Adrian de Groot and later William Chase and Herbert Simmons. And basically what de Groot is saying here in this article is that chess experts, what separates them from novice chess players is not the ability of brute force calculations. Okay, de Groot says that any chess player can see a cornucopia, perhaps even infinite amount of moves. Rather, what separates them is knowledge and the act of choosing the correct ones and only considering the correct ones. Okay, now every jiu-jitsu practitioner, every judoka has heard the concept of the old adage, jiu-jitsu or judo or karate or whatever is like chess. But it's not really true. What it really is, the underlying factor of a good chess player is critical thinking. So really, jiu-jitsu is just critical thinking. Now, what is critical thinking? Well, critical thinking is a concept taught in every university, should be taught in every high school. I hope it's being taught in the younger ages as well, but it's basically the ability to look at a situation in many different aspects that's free from bias. And you look at these logically, empathetically, deductively, systematically, abstractly, and a whole bunch of other words that end in ly. And after thinking critically, someone makes the best fitted choice. And when they're faced with conflict, the critical thinker avoids an emotional hijacking of this limbic system we have, the amygdala, the hippocampus, these pre-wired fight or flight responses, and they act uncontentiously, considering the best options they have. So really, jiu-jitsu is critical thinking. Now, how do you practice, or how do you go out and compete with critical thinking, and how do you teach with critical thinking? Well, when you go out and you compete with critical thinking, what you're doing is you're not just focusing narrow-mindedly on one move. Okay, my favorite move is a heel hook. I don't go into a tournament and think about, I want to do a heel hook, I'm going to do a heel hook, I'm going to do a heel hook. I might set myself up for the heel hook, but I'm going to eventually choose the best route. So really, it's just free-mindedness, if that makes sense. I'm not going to be caught up in one thing. I kind of have to go with the flow, right? Jiu-jitsu is all about the flow. When you roll, you're not strong and stalwart all the time and rigid. You're flowing. And that's what the flow is yeah, I'm flowing, but at the same time, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, and I'm thinking about how I'm going to set you up, and I'm not going to get my mind stuck on one thing, one move. If there's an arm bar there, I have to be able to see that arm bar. If there's a triangle choke, I have to be able to see that triangle choke. If there's a half collar cross choke, I have to be able to see that half collar cross choke. So that's how you use critical thinking when you compete. Now when you teach, like when I go out and I teach, you want to teach your students to be good critical thinkers. So in other words, yeah, of course you want to teach Ippon Sainagi the traditional way at first. But at the same time, you don't want to get your students so rigid that it has to be done this way. Or if you do a bent arm lock or udegarami, you don't want to have to sit there and say you have to turn the wrist like this, you have to do thumbless grip, you have to do this, you have to do this. Halves are bad because then they lose the whole concept of what jiu-jitsu is, the whole concept of a submission. Right? My instructor, Dave Kalish, told me the only difference between a black belt is the ability to see an armbar in several different ways. And that's so true. That's really all a black belt is an abstract thinker. That's really what a good jiu-jitsu player is an abstract thinker. And that's what you want to try to install in your students is abstract thinking, this critical thinking, this looking at stuff unbiased. Yeah, you might not like a certain throw. I hate Tayatoshi, but there is definitely a place for Tayatoshi, and I'm not going to avoid that. I hate a key lock, but there's definitely a place for a key lock, a place and a time for a key lock, so I'm going to go ahead and use that key lock when I need to. And that's, in my opinion, what jiu-jitsu is like chess means. It's not really the physical, I'm playing a chess and moving my pawn here and sacrificing this. It's really critical thinking. And critical thinking is really the atom of jiu-jitsu, and it's really the atom of chess. It's the smallest element that goes into it. Thanks.